Okay, let us start with the next topic, that is full wave rectifier. We have seen the working of half wave rectifier, then the analysis of half wave rectifier and numerical based on that. So same agenda will be followed here. We will be looking at the introduction, then construction, then working, then its input and output waveforms, then analysis, and then the numericals. So this is same agenda that we will be following for full wave rectifier. Now remember, this full wave rectifier is divided into two parts, classified into two parts. The first one is called as center tapped full wave rectifier, and the second type is called as bridge rectifier. Both these are the types of full wave rectifier. Now let us see how these two work. So I will be starting with first, called as center tapped full wave rectifier, or it is also called as CTFWR, center tapped full wave rectifier. Okay. Now why it is called as full wave rectifier? Because it utilizes the full cycle, means positive half cycle as well as negative half cycle of input waveform. Remember this. In the previous case that we have seen, that is half wave rectifier, the rectifier was utilizing only the positive half cycle of the input waveform. But here we have negative as well as positive half cycle, which is being utilized by the full wave rectifier for rectification purpose. So the input or the device is going to use both positive half cycle as well as negative half cycle for rectification. And that's why we will say, that's why its efficiency is good. That's why its efficiency is good. So this is our introductory part. Now let us go for the second part, which is construction. So let us try to draw the construction of CTFWR, that is center tapped full wave rectifier. So in center tapped full wave rectifier, of course the input is going to be similar, and that will be provided by the transformer, step down transformer. So from here we will be providing, of course, the 230 volt 50 hertz AC input, and that will be given to the primary of the transformer, and the secondary, that is step down, will be given to the rectifier circuit. Now rectifier circuit consists of two diodes instead of one. Now we will be using two diodes. See this, I am using two diodes here, and those two diodes, now just see what I am trying is, now what I am doing is I am dividing this secondary into two parts with the use of load resistor RL. And therefore what has happened, now I have tapped this secondary into two parts. The first part, or half of the secondary, is now attached with diode 1, that is called as D1, and half part of the secondary is connected to diode D2. And because of this tapping, now the secondary has been divided into two parts, the upper part and the lower part, and across this RL I will be getting the output V0. So this is nothing but this is the circuit of full wave rectifier, which is center tapped in nature. So center tapped full wave rectifier. And now what I will be doing is I will be showing the current which will be flowing through the circuit. So let me show it as I1. So I1 current will be flowing like this, and the direction of I2 will be exactly opposite to that. So I2 will be showing anti-clockwise and I1 will be showing clockwise. Will be flowing clockwise, remember this. So I have shown the two currents, I1 flowing clockwise and I2 flowing anti-clockwise. I am showing here 2 points A and B. Those I will be using while I will be explaining the working of this particular circuit. So in construction, I will say it consists of step down transformer, then two PN junction diodes. So either it can be made up of germanium or silicon. Preferred is silicon. Why? Because it is thermally stable. Then load resistor RL, which center taps the secondary of the transformer. So this is the construction part. So you can see it consists of a step down transformer. Its secondary is being tapped by load resistance RL, across which we take the output V0. These are the 2 points A and B, which are connected to diode D1 and D2 respectively. The current I1 flows in the upper part and I2 flows in the lower part. The direction of I1 is clockwise, the direction of I2 is anti-clockwise. Okay, let us now move ahead and see the working of the circuit, and then according to the working we will be drawing the input and the output waveforms. Okay, so I will be in need of this diagram. So let me have this diagram here only, and let us try to see the working of the circuit. So I will be going for the third part, which is called as working of the circuit. So let us see what is the working of the circuit. So I will be again considering 2 points. One is when I apply the positive half cycle of the input, what will happen, and second point will be when I apply negative half cycle, what will happen. See, when I apply positive half cycle of the input waveform, so input waveform is a sinusoidal wave. Let us apply it like this. So here Vi, and this is your omega t, 0 to pi to 2 pi. So I am considering a full cycle which consists of one positive half cycle and one negative half cycle. Now when I apply positive half cycle of the input waveform, point A becomes positive. So we'll say point A becomes positive. Now point A is the thing, but it is connected to the anode of the diode D1 and the cathode is connected to point B. So negative potential is applied to the cathode. So what will happen? Therefore anode will be at anode of D1, I will say, will be at higher potential with respect to cathode. So diode D1 will be forward bias and can be replaced by short circuit. I have told you in the previous analysis itself that the forward bias diode can be replaced by a short circuit, and a reverse bias diode can be replaced by open circuit. Similarly, because of point A positive, point B will be negative. So if point B is negative, so I will say point B is negative. So what will happen? Therefore the anode of D2 will be at lower potential. See, not higher potential, lower, because negative is applied here with respect to cathode. So diode D2 will be reverse bias and it can be replaced by open circuit. See, because now D1 is being replaced by short circuit, now this current I1 will flow from the secondary to point A through diode D1 because it is short, and through load resistance, and therefore the output will be equal to input, and therefore I can say that positive half cycle will appear as it is. It will appear as it is. Why? because I1 is directly flowing through the circuit, there is no resistance to stop it. Why? Because diode D1 is now replaced by short circuit. Similarly, diode D2 is reverse bias because of negative voltage applied to the anode of diode D2. It makes the diode D2 reverse bias, and therefore it will be replaced by open circuit, and once it is replaced by open circuit, the current flowing through this loop becomes 0. So I2 becomes 0, and therefore there will be no output. Okay, so output in this case means positive half cycle will be similar to the positive half cycle. Why? Because of this short, because of this D1 forward bias. Similarly, negative cycle, what will happen when you apply negative half cycle? Now point A becomes negative and point B becomes positive. So point B becomes positive, and therefore the anode of diode D2 now will be at higher potential with respect to cathode. So anode of D2 will be at higher potential, and what will happen because of this, your diode D2 is going to be forward bias and D1 is going to be reverse bias. So D2 can be replaced by short now, and D1 can be replaced by open. So because of D1 open, I1 becomes 0 now, so no output will be there because of point A, because of this particular network, the upper network. And in the lower network, because now the diode D2 is replaced by short, I2 will be flowing as it is, and therefore your output is going to be positive half cycle. Why? Because point B is at positive point. So now what will happen? Again you will get positive half cycle as output in this case, and no negative half cycle will be there. So this is the working for positive half cycle. The output is going to be equal to input, and for negative half cycle still the output is going to be positive. So let us now draw the waveform, input and the output waveform. So I will just give the heading here, input and output waveforms for center type flow rectifier. Let us draw it. Your input voltage Vi, timeline omega t, input applied is a sinusoidal wave. Okay, so it is 0 to pi to 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi, 5 pi, 6 pi, and then I will be drawing omega t and your output V0, so it will be 0. So let us take this down so that we can have a proportionate diagram. Let us draw it now. So for positive half cycle, diode D1 will be on, so we'll write the output will be because of D1, and D2 is off. Second diagram, again positive half cycle. Now here D2 is on and D1 is off, and that will go similarly. So the output is going to be only positive half cycles, but continuous positive half cycles. In the last case, you were getting positive half cycle and then there was no output, then positive half cycle but there was no output, again positive half cycle and there was no output. Here continuous positive half cycle is the output. So of course, if I consider only the full wave, so it contains positive and negative half cycle if I consider input, and in output I will be getting only positive half cycle, which is exactly double of the input that exactly double of the output that I was getting in the half wave rectifier, and that's why the efficiency will be approximately double. The efficiency will be approximately double. So hope you have got this waveforms. This is input waveform, this is output waveform. In input waveform you will be having a sinusoidal wave. For positive half cycle, diode D1 will be forward bias and therefore the output will be because of D1. In negative half cycle, D2 will be forward bias and therefore the output will be because of D2, and similar will happen here, D1, D2, D1, D2, and it will continue like this. Okay, so this was about the input and the output waveform of the center tap full wave rectifier. Now let us go for the analysis, and you know that we calculate 13 different values in the analysis. So let us try to calculate those values. So I will be starting with the analysis of center tap full wave rectifier. Center tap full wave rectifier. Let me begin with this. So you know the values and all, okay, but let us begin with the initial value that we started with in the previous analysis also. Let the input waveform be, okay, so input waveform is Vi is equal to Vm sin omega t. Let us write about output waveform. So I am writing it two equations for that. Let us say I1 is equal to V1 is equal to Vm sin omega t for 0 to omega t to pi, and for this purpose the value of V2 is going to be 0. Similarly, for the second waveform, that is negative half cycle, that is pi less than equal to omega t less than equal to 2 pi, V1 will be 0, diode, because of the equation, because of the diode D1 the value will be 0, and because of diode D2 the equation will be Vm sin omega t. Okay, so on the basis of this, let us try to calculate the parameters. The first parameter that we calculated in the last case also similarly, so it is DC voltage, or I will say average voltage, or I will say mean voltage, one and the same thing, which is denoted by VDC. Again, I will be going by the same strategy. So we will be integrating the equation over the entire period, and then we will be dividing it by the total area. So let us derive it. VDC is equal to 1 upon 2 pi under root of 0 to 2 pi. So it will be V sin omega t, I will say V0 sin omega t. Then VDC will be equal to 1 upon 2 pi under root of 0 to 2 pi of V1 plus V2 into sin omega t d omega t. Okay, so VDC will be equal to 1 upon 2 pi. So it will be integration of 0 to pi of Vm sin omega t plus 0, right? So we are not writing 0, so it is pi to 2 pi again. So I have made 1 by 2 pi common, okay? So it is pi to 2 pi of Vm sin omega t again d omega t. So just the bracket complete. So I can now take Vm common. So Vm by 2 pi will be common. Now let us have the integration. So it is going to be minus cos omega t 0 to pi plus minus cos omega t from pi to 2 pi. Okay, let us put the limits. So I will be writing Vm by 2 pi here. So it is going to be 1 plus 1 plus I will have again 1 plus 1 here. Okay, it is kind of this. So I can write it here. So Vm by 2 pi multiplied by 4, 2 plus 2, 4, which twice Vm by pi, which will give me the value twice Vm by pi. So the value of VDC comes out to be twice Vm by pi. In the previous case it was coming out to be Vm by pi, if you remember. So it is exactly double of the previous value. In the previous value this value was becoming 0. Now here it is similar value. So Vm by pi for this, Vm by pi for this, and the total becomes twice Vm by pi. On the basis of this, let us calculate the value of IDC. So I write the second parameter is DC current or average current or mean current, so represented by IDC. So you know that by the Ohm's law, V is equal to IR, so VDC is equal to IDC into RF plus RL. Therefore IDC is equal to VDC upon RF plus RL. Okay, therefore IDC is equal to, what is VDC? We have calculated it now, twice Vm by pi RF plus RL. So IDC is equal to twice, what is Vm? Vm is nothing but it is Im multiplied by RF plus RL. V is equal to IR, V is equal to IR, okay, divided by pi multiplied by RF plus RL. So this RF plus RL and this RF plus RL get cancelled, and therefore IDC becomes twice Im by pi. Similar value. In the previous case, if you remember, the value of VDC was Vm by pi and the value of IDC was Im by pi, half wave rectifier. And for full wave rectifier, see what will happen. VDC is equal to twice Vm by pi and IDC is equal to twice Im by pi. Twice Im by pi. So similar values you will be getting. Okay. Now this is about your DC value. So let us now go for the next two parameters, that is RMS voltage and current. RMS voltage and current. So we will see what is RMS voltage and what is RMS current. Okay. So let us write for third parameter RMS voltage, VRMS, or AC voltage I can say. So how VRMS can be calculated? This value that we have taken already, we need to take the square root of the mean value. So let us take that, and for that purpose I am taking only one value, 1 by pi. Why? Because 0 to pi only will give me the answer, so I need not to take 2 pi. Okay, because the next value is going to be similar. So let us calculate it for the single value, because the waveforms are same, no? So let us calculate 1 by pi only. So 1 by pi, so under root we need to take, so I am taking it like this. So 0 to pi of Im square sine square omega t d omega t, and then the root of this. Okay, so 1 by pi, because it is repetitive value, that's why I have taken 1 by pi instead of taking 2 pi. So only 0 to pi limit is taken. So when it is true for one value, it will be true for the every other value. Okay, so it will be, so Im square I am taking outside. Okay, and in the bracket what will be there? 1 minus cos 2 omega t by 2, and then root. Still the sign is there. Okay, so it is Im square by pi. Now let us put it, the limits we need to put. So it will be pi by 2 minus 0 minus sine 2 omega t by 4, and then we need to put the limits. It is from, so okay, so it is 1 by 2, so I am putting it here 0 to pi, and then root of this. So the value comes out to be Im square by pi multiplied by, it will be pi by 2, and this value is going to be 0. Sine of 2 pi minus sine of 0, so it is going to be 0. So let us forget that value. So it will be like this. So it will be Im square. It's okay. Let us take it. If this pi and pi get cancels, so I am having Im by, okay, I have taken it all in terms of current. Actually it should be in terms of, it should be in terms of voltage V. Let me replace it. Sorry, I have solved this equation in terms of current, so I can solve it in any terms, either in terms of voltage or in terms of current. It is one and the same thing. So Vm square by 2 and root of that, right? So it will be Vm by root 2. So the value comes out to be Vm by root 2. Remember this, 1 by pi 0 to pi of Vm square sine square omega t d omega t. Why I have taken half? Because it is repetitive half cycle. No? So either I am calculating for single cycle, it will be repeated for others we have seen. For one cycle it comes out to be Vm by pi, and for the other it will be twice Vm by pi. Okay, so in similar way, that's why I have taken only the single half cycle. That is Vm square by pi 0 to pi of the sine square omega t can be written as 1 minus cos 2 omega t by 2. Then Vm square by pi. Then it will be 1 by 2 minus sine 2 omega 2 by 4. Limit 0 to pi. I put the limits here. This value is going to be 0. So Vm square by pi into pi by 2, and the root of that. So root of Vm square by 2. So it comes out to be Vm by root 2. Now let us calculate the second value from here, which is called as RMS current, IRMS. So logically I know the value is going to be Im by root 2, but let us calculate that. So IRMS will be Vrms upon Rf plus RL. V is equal to IR, so I is equal to V by R. Now therefore IRMS is equal to, let me put the value, Vm by root 2 multiplied by Rf plus RL. But what is Vm? Vm is Im multiplied by Rf plus RL divided by root 2 multiplied by Rf plus RL. This Rf plus RL get cancelled and I get the value Im by root 2. So IRMS is equal to Im by root 2. So see here, what is the value of Vrms? The value of Vrms is Vm by root 2, and the value of Im is Im by root 2. Let me write all the four values that we have calculated. So VDC is twice Vm by pi, IDC is equal to twice Im by pi, Vrms is Vm by root 2, and IRMS is Im by root 2. In the previous case, the values were, after rectify, the values were Vm by pi, Im by pi, Vm by 2, and Im by 2. But now the value is coming out to be Im by root 2 and Vm by root 2. Okay. Now let us go for the next step. So next step will be our fifth step, to calculate DC output power, that is called as PDC. So how PDC can be calculated? Electronically it is the multiplication of voltage and current, so it will be VDC multiplied by IDC. Let us put the values. VDC is twice Vm by pi multiplied by twice Im by pi. So the value will be 4 Vm Im upon pi square. So let us have equation number 1 for this. Simple. 4 Vm Im upon pi square. Sixth one is then AC input power. So input power PAC is nothing but, I will write PAC is equal to Vrms multiplied by IRMS. It will be Vm by root 2 multiplied by Im by root 2. So it is going to be Vm Im upon 2. Root 2 multiplied by root 2 is 2. So this is equation number 2 for you. Okay, now the important expression comes, and that is called as seventh, percentage efficiency. Now percentage efficiency, you know, it is output PDC upon input PAC multiplied by 100. So let us put the value. So it is 4 Vm Im upon pi square multiplied by, let us cross multiply it. So it will be 2 multiplied by Vm into Im. So this Vm Im get cancelled, and we get 8 by pi square and multiplied by 100, of course. So let us calculate this. Let us use our calculator to calculate that. Where is the calculator? I need to search for that. Okay. Okay, so we will be calculating that. So it will be 8 divided by pi square, and that multiplied by 100. So it comes out to be 81.05. It comes out to be 81.05%, and that's why it is called as 81.6%. Exactly double of the value that we received in half wave rectifier, and that's why full wave rectifier is preferred over half wave rectifier, because its efficiency is double of that of the half wave rectifier. So comparatively, if we find that the value comes out to be double the value of the half wave rectifier, and that's why the full wave rectifier is preferred. Remember this. So efficiency of full wave rectifier comes out to be 81.05. Okay. Now let us go for the next values that we usually calculate while analyzing the values. That is 8th, ripple factor. See how we define ripple factor? We define ripple factor as the amount of AC present in the DC output. The amount of AC present in the DC output. See, when I started, I applied AC power to the rectifier, and what I got was DC plus AC, and I called it as pulsating DC because it contains DC as well as AC. Now this AC is unwanted. Why? Because we want pure DC output, and that's why we are not calling it as pure DC, but we are calling it as pulsating DC. Now in the last case, you were applying, let us say, 100 watt power, and you were getting only 40% of DC and 60% was still AC. So ripple was quite high. So the ripple was 1.21. But here, because the efficiency is high now, efficiency is 80%, so out of 100, 80% is converted into DC, but still 20% is AC. And that's why the percentage of ripples present in the DC output is going to reduce. So the value will not be 1.21, but it will be lower than 1.21. And what is that value? That is what we need to see. So how to calculate ripple factor? First of all, for that purpose, we need to calculate ripple voltage. For that purpose, we need to calculate a ripple voltage VR, which is under root of Vrms square minus Vdc square. This is what we have seen in the half wave rectifier. So let us calculate that. Under root of, what is Vrms? It is Vm by root 2 in this case, square minus twice Vm by pi square. Right? Okay. And the value of ripple factor R is equal to Vr upon Vdc. So let us put this value under root of Vm square upon 2 minus 4 Vm square upon pi square divided by Vdc. But Vdc, when it will come under the square root sign, it will be squared. So the same value, 4 Vm square by pi square. So if I divide it individually, the value will become under root of Vm square upon 2 multiplied by pi square upon 4 Vm square minus 1. Why? Because this and this value is same. So if we divide them, the answer is going to be 1. So let us calculate that. So this Vm square get cancelled. So I will be remaining with pi square upon 8 minus 1. Let us calculate that value and see what will be the answer. So root of, I will say root of that value. So I will be having pi square divided by 8 minus 1. And your answer comes out to be 0.48. Your answer comes out to be 0.48. So see this, in half wave rectifier the value of ripple factor was 1.21. Now the value comes out to be 0.48. So it has considerably reduced, which makes it more efficient in the practical application. So full wave rectifier is preferred over half wave rectifier on the basis of efficiency, on the basis of lower ripple factor value. Remember this, because ripple factor is nothing but it is the measure of how much AC is still present in the DC output. So that is what we need to calculate, and if we calculate that, it comes out to be 0.48. Okay, let us move towards the next part. Let us take the next part. So I will be moving ahead, and let us calculate the next parameter, and the next parameter that we calculated was PIV, peak inverse voltage. So what is PIV? PIV is nothing but it is the maximum voltage applied to the diode when it is in reverse bias. See here, we have two half cycles, positive and negative. When I apply positive half cycle, so diode D1 will be forward bias, but D2 will be reverse bias. So what is the reverse voltage applied? Maximum reverse voltage that can be applied to the diode D2 is Vm. And when we apply negative half cycle, diode D2 becomes forward bias, but D1 becomes reverse bias. So what is the maximum voltage I can apply in the reverse bias to D1 is again Vm. So it is Vm for positive half cycle, Vm for negative half cycle. That's why the value for PIV comes out to be twice Vm in this case. So in forward bias or in positive half cycle, maximum voltage against D2 is Vm, and in reverse bias, maximum voltage against D1 reverse bias diode is again Vm. So it is Vm plus Vm, twice Vm. So that is why it is twice Vm, PIV. Okay, now let us go for the next part, 10th one, which is called as transformer utilization factor, TUF. We have seen what is the meaning of this. It is nothing but it is the ratio of DC output power to the AC ratings of the transformer. What actually we apply to the primary of the transformer and how much of that is being converted into DC. So let us write TUF is equal to DC output power. The definitions are going to be same. The half wave rectifier, full wave rectifier, the definitions are going to be same. That's why I am not repeating that. And here it will be AC ratings of transformer multiplied by 100. So you can calculate it in percentage and you can calculate it in the factor also. Okay, but remember here what is happening. See, here we have the primary and then we have two secondaries. Why? We are center tapping it by the load resistance, so we are getting S1 and S2, and one we are getting is called as primary. Okay, so we need to calculate the transformer utilization factor of primary, then we need to calculate the transformer utilization factor of secondary, and then we need to take the average of these three. So let us start with primary, because primary was similar. So I can say the TUF of the primary is going to be same as that of the half wave rectifier, right? So I will write TUF primary is equal to 0.286. How we have calculated? If you want to calculate, I can write it here, similar to the half wave rectifier. So 0.86 we write with reference to half wave rectifier. Okay, now let us calculate transformer utilization factor for secondary one, means this upper secondary. So it will be PDC upon PAC rated. Let us write it. PDC will be twice Vm by pi multiplied by twice Im by pi. So that will be PDC. VDC multiplied by IDC divided by, it will be Vm by root 2 multiplied by Im by root 2, Vrms multiplied by Irms. So this value is going to be, say, let us calculate that. So this value is going to be 4 Vm Im upon pi square multiplied by 2 upon VMIM. So this VMIM get cancelled. So it will be 8 by pi square. So let us calculate what it comes. So it is going to be 8 by pi square. So it comes out to be 0.810. So it comes out to be 0.810. Of course, it will be similar to the efficiency of the rectifier. Okay, now let us calculate TUF-S2. So it is going to be same again. So it is going to be PDC upon PAC rated. But we need to write it because if the expression is asked, we need to repeat that. So again, the same value I will be writing. So it will come out to be 0.810. Now I will be calculating TUF for the rectifier. So that will be TUF of primary plus TUF of secondary 1 plus TUF of secondary 2 divided by 3. So it will be 0.286 plus 0.810 plus 0.810 divided by 3. So let us calculate that. 0.286 plus 0.810 plus 0.810. Okay, we got the answer, divided by 3. Okay, and that comes out to be 0.636. So remember, they asked you in this examination, prove that the TUF of center tap fluid rectifier is equal to 0.636. Remember, what we need to remember here is the primary part is similar to that. The primary part is similar to that of the half wave rectifier. So the value of TUF of the primary and the half wave rectifier is going to be same. That is 0.286. Then I need to, because my secondary is getting divided into two parts because of load resistance RL. So I need to calculate TUF-S1, TUF-S2. So I will be calculating TUF-S1 by PDC upon PAC rated. So it comes out to be 0.810. Similarly, secondary, the TUF secondary 2, it will come out to be 0.810. So now let us take the average of these three. So TUF of primary plus TUF of secondary 1 plus TUF of secondary 2 divided by 3, and the answer comes out to be 0.636. And they ask you this in this exam, in the examination, that prove that the efficiency or the TUF of the center tap fluid rectifier is 0.636. Okay, let us move ahead. 3 parameters are remaining. You know, there are 13 parameters, so let us finish those. So let us start with the 11th one, and that 11th one is called as percentage regulation. So it is represented by percentage capital R. So it is again, that is VDC no load minus VDC full load upon VDC full load multiplied by 100. So VDC no load will be twice Vm by pi minus VDC no load will be IDC into RF plus RL full load. Then it will be IDC into RF plus RL. So in this value, no load, I am not considering any load or resistance, but when I take VDC full load, I will be considering the entire load connected in the circuit. So it will be the forward resistance of the diode and the load resistance, and if the secondary resistance is also given, it will also be calculated in that. So that will be added, multiplied by 100. Okay, no definite value for that. We need to calculate according to the values that we have. Let us have form factor, capital F. So form factor capital F is defined as the RMS value of voltage or current divided by the DC value of voltage or current. Let us take the value. So it is Vm by root 2 multiplied by twice Vm by pi. So pi upon twice Vm. Vm get cancelled. So it will be pi by root 2, and that value comes out to be 1.11. That value comes out to be 1.11. And I have told you that the ripple factor R is nothing but form factor square minus 1. So under root of 1.11 square minus 1. We have proved it in the half-wave rectifier case. So let us prove it again, so that let us check the values coming out to be same or not. So that is 0.48 for ripple factor. Yeah, so it comes out to be 0.48. It comes out to be 0.48. So ripple factor is proved, that the ripple factor value for full wave rectifier is 0.48. Remember this. Okay, the last value now I am taking, called as 13th, which is called as peak factor. One is form factor, another is called as peak factor, and that is defined as peak factor is equal to the peak value upon RMS value. So peak value is Vm upon, so I will write RMS value means Vrms, so it is Vm upon Vm by root 2. So answer is going to be root 2 only, and you know the value of root 2 is 1.414. The value comes out to be 1.414. So peak factor value is 1.414. So let us summarize the values now. So I will summarize it on the last sheet. So I will just write center tap full wave rectifier. See, these are the values we calculated. We started with VDC. It comes out to be twice Vm by pi. And then I calculated IDC, which is twice Im by pi. Then I calculated Vrms, which was Vm by root 2. Then I calculated IRMS, that is Im by root 2. Then we calculated from here, we calculated the fifth value, which is called as PDC. So it was twice Vm by pi multiplied by twice Im by pi, which comes out to be 4 Vm Im upon pi square. Similarly, the sixth value that we calculated was PAC. So it is Vm by root 2 multiplied by Im by root 2. So it is Vm Im by 2. Okay. From there we calculated percentage efficiency, which comes out to be 81.05%. Precise value for the efficiency, which is exactly double to that of the value of half-wave rectifier. Then I calculated ripple factor, which comes out to be 0.48. The formula was under root of Vrms upon Vdc whole square minus 1. The similar value that we have calculated for half-wave rectifier. Then we calculated the peak inverse voltage, the maximum voltage that you can apply across the diode when it is in reverse bias, and that value comes out to be twice Vm, because Vm is the reverse bias voltage that we can apply in positive half cycle, and Vm is the reverse bias voltage that we can apply in the negative half cycle. So it is Vm plus Vm, twice Vm. Then we have transformer utilization factor. So in that case, we need to calculate 3 transformer utilization factors: TUF of the primary plus TUF of secondary 1, because secondary is divided into 2 parts now, and then you take the average of that. It comes out to be 0.636. Okay, important one. Then 11th one, we have calculated percentage regulation, and VDC no load minus VDC full load upon VDC full load multiplied by 100%. Here we need to take the value twice Vm by pi without considering any load in the circuit. Here we need to take the entire load of the circuit. Here we need to take the entire load of the circuit. Then we have seen 12th is called as form factor, which is equal to, the value was equal to 1.11. Then I calculated peak factor, which value was root 2, that is 1.414. So these are the values of full wave rectifier, center tap full wave rectifier. Now I am not going to take the numericals of rectifier, full wave rectifier. I will be taking the theory part of bridge rectifier first, and after we complete the bridge rectifier part, then we will be going for the numericals of center tap full wave rectifier as well as bridge rectifier. Okay, so we'll stop here today. If you are having any queries, you can ask me anytime. Thank you.